You just gotta change with the times or perish with them. Cause y'all said how to evolve. How does Luca Brasi always stay relevant? I change with the times, so I don't perish with them. I always reinvent myself. I went from K Lucci to K Luch, to Luch, to Luca, to Gooch, to Luca Brasi, to Zilla. LMC collection. Whatever I touch, it turns diamond. You know, God gave me a gift. You know, I think my gift was to really help other people in their lives. Cause I ain't get this life. All I did was help these motherfuckers that blew up and forgot about me. And promised me shit. Oh, yo, I'm gonna get you a house, I'm gonna get you a car, yeah, I'm here. And give me shit. It's for my vlog. Fuck you talking about? Stop. No, go. He said he set the trend, right? He said he set the fucking trend, right? Stop playing with me. Big Gumbo's in the building. I set the trends. Bow. Remix. I've always had a head on my shoulders. I always had it figured out how to make $1. My grandmother, she was from Grand Projects, man. I'll be pleased with her. She showed me how to sell a soda pop for $1 and I paid $0.25 for it from the market. I ain't never looked back. I had the house of spirit in me after that. That was it. I went and got a shopper car full of soda pops and sold them $1,000. This was Harlem Week, the Jazz Mobile, you know, late early 80s, late 90s, you know. They like, man, it's just a beautiful thing, man. Harlem Renaissance, you know. We outside! I ain't got no prop money neither. Hold on. Oh, word? How you doing, bro? I love you. How you feel? Can I get a back?
There are 3 capitals of the United States. Los Angeles is the capital of entertainment and media. Washington, D.C. is the political capital. And, well, New York is viewed as the financial capital of the United States. The Big Apple is really the epitome, or the epicenter, of America's obsession with making money and living the once vibrant idea and that of the American dream. While there are hustlers and entrepreneurs all around the country and all around the world, it can't be denied that New York City has been one of the major breeding grounds for some of the most successful hustlers in the world. And when it comes to this plant and its legalization, there hasn't been an exception. Luca Brasi, otherwise known as Kareem Butler, grew up in the Bronx and hustled his way to where he is now. In this High Design QP episode, we're going to cover the rise of the Gumbo brands and the people behind it, and that of Kareem Butler and his partner, Alex Major, while also discussing the recent announcement that the CEO of the cookies brand, Burner, has now entered into a partnership with the Gumbo brand. We're going to discuss that and the implications that the recently announced deal has on this new emerging market. Please make sure to hit the like button, share this, subscribe with the notifications turned on, and follow me on all the social medias. The links are down below in the description. Anyways, welcome to this QP. This is LMC. Let's run it. Luca Brasi, otherwise known as Kareem Butler, grew up in the Bronx. His mom worked hard to have money to send him to private school, but Luca was really just focused on trying to stack bread. Luca, as a kid, had a love for hustling, working hard and also acquiring top-shelf flowers. As a kid, he was always trying to get into the famous NYC spot ran by Branson. And every time Branson would tell little Luca he couldn't come in. And by the way, if you haven't seen the High Design History episode I did on Branson, I highly recommend you go watch that. But it's pretty wild to see that the same young boy that tried to cop from Branson is now a co-partner of his, given that they both have partnerships with Burner and the cookies brand. But more on that later. Around the year 2000, Luca would move over to Harlem and start hustling with a cousin of his on 145th and Broadway, where he'd be selling CDs, knockoff designer coats, and other products as well. During this time, he would actually be making a lot of good money. And a little later on, during this time in Harlem, he would link up with up-and-coming rappers at the time, Cameron and Jim Jones, who had just started to form the now world-famous rap group Dipset, otherwise known as the Diplomats. Over the course of a couple years, Luca would help Dipset in so many different ways, acting as the muscle for the set, while also providing promotion, as well as recruiting new up-and-coming rappers to join the group. See, Luca was known as someone who could really help the up-and-coming rappers from that area, because in a lot of ways, he had a lock on that 145th spot. I mean, check out this clip where he talks about it.
I got paid very well through Cameron. Remember, I found the J.R. Ryder, Hell Rail, Uncasa, Shice Bob, it can go on and on and on. Aguilar, I brought these people to influential to life. They were already who they were, but I was already lit. Remember, I was hot. Every rapper, everybody came to 145th and checked in with me. I was like the fucking mayor. Like the hood celebrity. You come through, you check in with Luca Brasi. Yo, Gooch, we going to see Gooch. I got Scarface, Lil Wayne, Juvenile. I had tour buses. Jay-Z and Beyonce come up there and kick it with me. Hold a conversation, 20,000 people just run up and crazy shit, bro. Real history.
Around the mid-2000s to early 2000s, Luca would start talking with rapper Shice Bubs, who today now is the owner and partner with Burner in the clothing and accessories brand, The Smokers Club. But in the early to mid-2000s, Shice Bubs and Luca would work together, and they actually helped build the Dipset subsidiary, Purple City Bird Gang. Now, what's really interesting about this time is that Shice Bubs and Luca worked hand in hand to be one of the first people to really bring the purple haze to New York City.
Grove Street Nucleus era, where Redman used to go buy 100 bags. They were one of the first people to bring purple haze to New York City via Miami, from the way up Miami, and they called it Crippy back then. So I introduced the world to Purple Haze, Cameron days, Dipset, Purple Haze era, and here I am now with Gumbo.
Now, during this time, Luca and Shice Bubs were talking about doing a collab album. Unfortunately, right when they were about to do the collab, Luca would end up getting arrested and had to do a bid for a little bit of time. And when he got out, Shice Bubs and the other members of Purple City signed a deal with Baby Grand Records, and Luca would get none of the money, which then in turn caused some conflict. While it seems that there was some beef there, it looks like they have patched things up, and that is just a thing of the past. I think it's super dope to see how far Shice Bubs and Luca have come, with Shice reaching massive success with his podcast Heavy Smoke, as well as the success of the Smokers Club, and then now with Luca having so much success now with Gumbo and the Flytrap brand. Now, when Luca got out of prison, he promised himself that he was going to hustle and make money only from mostly legal endeavors. So he turned to fashion, selling custom fur coats to some of the biggest celebrities and rappers at the time, including 50 Cent, Chris Brown, French Montana, and many more. Luca had a partner in this fur coat business who unfortunately ended up getting locked up because of a situation involving some stolen coats, and we'll just leave it at that. Now, in 2017, Luca would meet his future wife and now business partner, Alex Major. Alex, just like Luca, is a real deal hustler, coming from New London, Connecticut. She started working at Def Jam Marketing at only the age of 18, working under Deirdre Graham and Julie Greenwald, which for those who aren't as tapped into the music business, well, those are very, very well-renowned music execs. Alex's adopted brother happens to be Jordan Reed, who played in the NFL and was a multiple-time Pro Bowler. And Alex has been working since she was 12 years old and also looked after Jordan and many of her cousins. So as we can see, Alex Major was very determined and driven at a young age. In 2017, Alex and Luca would meet and start dating, which would mark the start of a power couple that together would start to climb their way up the game. Now, in around the mid to late 2019, early 2020, Luca's friend Bully Brown would introduce him to a West Coast cat by the name of Young LB. By the way, if you haven't watched the High Design episode I did on Runts and Young LB, I highly recommend you go watch that. Seriously, it will give you a lot more context to the story we're about to talk about right now. So definitely go check that out. So it seems that Young LB has done his research and realized who Luca was and his history. Luca would start to give LB a tour of the different hoods in New York, and during that tour, LB would start to see how tapped in Luca was with the community. And Young LB told Luca that he should buy a stamp from him and jug his own jokes up flavor/brand. And given Luca's entrepreneurial instincts, bells started to ring in his head, and he realized this would be a great new endeavor to jump into. Now, there's a lot of power in the idea of what we as humans call exotic, right? Exotic is defined as something originating in or a characteristics of a distant, potentially foreign region. See, just like what Branson did back in the 80s and 90s with obtaining flavors and flowers from the West Coast, LB meeting Luca was in fact the same principle. Luca now had not only exotic flavors, but also, more importantly, he now had a stamp from, at the time, the most sought after and up and coming entrepreneur in this emerging industry, at least in terms of the national street recognition. See, in 2019, Runts, and the public leader of the Runts movement and that of Young LB, was at the time at an all-time high in popularity and demand. In 2020, Leafly would award Runts the Flavor of the Year award, as well as Cookies and Burner would invest in the Runts brand. So the timing of Luca meeting LB and him getting a Jokes Up stamp was nearly almost perfect. Now, Luca has obviously been involved with this plant for many years, but I think really what happened with the rise of the gumbo flavor and brands is a combination between Young LB giving Luca the blueprint/instructions initially to roll out the brand/flavor, combined with Luca's insane hustle. But also, I think one of the very critical components to this massive rise in success is Luca's network and ties to many of the top dogs in music and other businesses in New York. Many of the legendary rappers we know today, well, he had close ties to, given his days with Dipset, as well as the fact that his partner, Alex, worked at one of the most famous record labels of all time, in that of Def Jam. So it's really safe to say that, yeah, the Gumbo family, otherwise known as Luca and Alex, are extremely well connected. So now, because Luca now had the credibility with Young LB's Jokes Up stamp and the newly formed Gumbo flavor/brand, he was able to utilize all of the connections he has in New York and beyond. The famous rap podcast Drink Champs, hosted by the legendary rapper N.O.R.E. or Noriega and DJ EFN, is a great example of how a platform combined with a credible brand/product can shoot your business up to the top in record speed. When analyzing Luca's Instagram, we see countless pictures of him and famous rappers, but the most recurring is without a doubt him and Noriega. And it seems to me that Drink Champs and Nori are extremely supportive and loyal to the Gumbo brands. Luca and Alex are at many of the shows, given that Drink Champs has a kind of a live audience that really just consists of all of their close friends to the show. But this, my friends, is why podcasts are one of the most efficient ways to network with people. See, with a podcast, you're not only getting content, but it's also a mechanism to spend time and network with the guests that you have on your show. So it's a two birds, one stone type of thing. And with Luca and Alex being at the shows all the time, well, it only just helps add to their already impressive and vast network of famous individuals. Like, for example, Kevin Hart or Dave Chappelle. And really, once you build those relationships, well, potentially that could lead to full-on partnerships with said famous individuals. See, what Luca must have realized pretty early on when working with Young LB is that he could just observe and learn what Young LB was doing and then start doing it himself. See, imagine if you combine the strategies utilized by Burner and Young LB. And to clarify for those who don't get where I'm heading with this, with Burner, he has a partnership sub-brand model with different celebrities, whereas Young LB has done partnerships, like partnership sub-brands, with regular people all over the country, which really where the term stamp in this context comes from. Both approaches have been extremely effective, and if I had to guess, the stamp approach pioneered by Young LB, J Pate, and others from the Jokes Up Runts crew most likely is a bigger moneymaker in the short term, whereas the celebrity collaborative brands are more of a slow burn, and really the ROI in that really is less guaranteed. Because a celebrity partnership is a trade in clout, right? The celebrity agrees to have their name associated with the business in exchange for their own branded products or their own sub-brand. And most likely they don't invest any of their own money in it. But that can depend on the situation, and that of the celebrities probably going to get a cut of the profits as well. Whereas the stamp approach, serving regular individuals, is a monetary trade, where the person buying the stamp could pay anywhere from $10,000 up to $100,000 or more. Typically what is offered in these stamp deals is the person gets to utilize the brand name and have it connected to their own personal brand, while also getting a blueprint of how to market and jug your sub-brand. Now, at this point, this business model of selling anyone their own sub-brand is pretty widespread, and people are doing it all over. And so these business models of selling anyone their sub-brand is pretty widespread. And now, because there are so many people doing this, the deals can vary, right? Some deals may get you unique genetics. Some deals might not. Some deals you may, get this or that, but really at the very core that all of these stamp deals have is that you get to utilize a prominent brand name to help bolster up your own sub-brand. Now, I want to be very, very clear about this, right? Is it worth it to buy a stamp or not? And really the answer is, it depends. The thing about buying a stamp is it really comes down to how far the person buying the stamp is willing to take it. How hard are you willing to work? How effectively are you going to leverage the overall brand name you bought the stamp from? Do you actually understand how much work it's going to take? Do you have a network that is optimized to help you succeed? Do you have an actual long-term plan? Have you taken into account what's going to happen when everything goes legal and is regulated, right? These are the questions that you need to be asking yourself before purchasing a stamp, in my opinion. See, we're in a very unique time right now because it's just started. This whole new industry, it's just started. So it's hard to see how many of these people that have purchased stamps have been successful and made money. I think there are plenty of cases where people have made some really good money. I'm sure there are cases where people haven't made any money though. But this is the short term. We're talking about the long term. Long term, well, the only way we're gonna be able to see that is just wait. It's really only a time will tell kind of thing. I would say that Luca and Gumbo is by far the most successful stamp buyer in the country to date. I mean, they shot so far up, they ended up leaving the sub-brand status under Jokes Up and ascended to full brand status and now sells their own stamps. And like I said earlier, Luca and Alex were perfectly positioned in many ways to ascend above the Jokes Up sub-brand status. Given the fact that they have such a powerful network, and they both are hardcore hustlers that know how to work and network. They also tested the viability of the stamp sub-brand model with having their own Gumbo sub-brand and that of the Fly Trap Gumbo brand. The story goes that Luca and Alex were testing some new flavors with the legendary rapper Jadakiss, and Jada got so geeked, he called it a Fly Trap, and so that's the origin of the Fly Trap name. Now, if I had to make a recommendation, I think Luca and Alex should continue to build out the Fly Trap sub-brand and showcase the different strategies and methods in helping that sub-brand be successful, so that the folks buying stamps from them will have some more examples and instructions of how they can be successful with their own sub-brand. Maybe even create SOPs or standard operating procedures for marketing and other business operations. Anyways, like I said earlier, this stamp selling model is extremely new, which is also inside of a brand new industry. That's just starting, so we'll have to see how this all turns out in the future, but yeah, only time will tell. But please, if you buy a stamp, be very aware and understand what you're getting yourself into and have a plan to succeed. Anyways, I have to really commend Luca and Alex because really what they did that made them so successful is they adapted, observed, pivoted, and implemented in a pretty rapid amount of time. And in a lot of ways, that's entrepreneurship at its core. Now, in November 2022, which is last month as of this recording, Cookies and Gumbo released a press release announcing that Cookies and Gumbo were entering into an official partnership. Now, what are the exact details of this partnership? I'm not really sure, but if I had to guess, either Cookies made an investment or in the Gumbo brand, or they're doing some sort of distribution deal, and we'll have to see. I don't really know the details on the specifics of that. We'll probably find out here in the future. Now, why would Luca and his wife, co-founder Alex Major, want to do this? Well, by going into a partnership with Cookies and Burner, it guarantees that the Gumbo brand will have multi-state distribution in all of the cookie stores around the country. Another huge advantage that they're going to benefit from in this partnership is getting more access and developing the different flavors and genetics for their brand and their sub-brands. It's definitely going to be extremely interesting to see how the Gumbo and Cookies brand partnership will develop in the future. I personally think the future is looking very bright for the Gumbos. And really, when we think about why Burner and Cookies wanted to make this partnership happen, I think it really involves, Burner wanting to ensure that he has a solid infrastructure in establishing himself in New York with the Cookies brand, which is one of the biggest markets in the country. And as of this recording, the entire world. Yeah, New York is one of the big four markets in the US, right? There's California, New York, Florida, and Texas. These four markets are absolutely going to be extremely hyper-competitive given the concentrated populations and therefore bigger consumer markets. The thing about bringing a brand into a new market like New York is you need to have local movers and shakers on your side helping you out. State brands, in this case cookies, assimilate into the local cultures and overall zeitgeist of the local population. And what better way to do that than to partner with Luca Brasi's gumbo brand, as well as partnering with the legacy operator in that of the legendary Branson. By the way, I mentioned this earlier, but if you haven't seen that high design history episode I did on Branson, I highly recommend you go and watch that. But anyways, like I said, the partnership and overall market entry strategy that Berner and the Cookies team has been executing on in New York has been really impressive to observe. It seems that it's a culmination of all the things the Cookies team learned when entering into other markets prior. They've really started to hone in on what worked for them and failed for them in entering into those other markets in the past. As each new state opens up, it looks like Cookies is just getting stronger and stronger when it comes to their strategy and their entry into new markets. I think Berner and his team have really been innovative in their marketing strategies for entering new markets, and a big part of that is how do you assimilate your brand into each unique local culture. And side note, I also think a company named TRP has been a big help with market entry for Cookies on more of the logistical side of things. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the full rollout and market entry for Cookies is going to pan out in New York. But so far, Cookies has been pitching almost a perfect game, and we're in the 6th inning. 3 more to go. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to observe. Now, to get back to the gumbos, I think some of the major themes I've noted when researching and analyzing the Luca Brasi, Alex Major story, it really involves adaptation, persistence, resilience, and patience. See, like y'all saw earlier in the video, Luca is a real deal entrepreneurial hustler, someone who has sold all types of different products, adapting to new circumstances, and being persistent in his endeavors. And I would say the same goes for Alex. See, really, what can be hard for so many people is getting back up after they've been knocked down multiple times. But that's the nature of success. You need to have resilience so you're able to get back up, brush your shoulders off, and then adapt and try to succeed a different way. For many, getting knocked down multiple times for many, many years pushes them to give up. But this is where patience and persistence comes into play. Success is rarely planned out to the T. Usually that success comes from unexpected areas. And see, what Alex and Luca have in common is their shared experience in helping rappers and musicians reach success, but continuously struggling to help themselves. And what I mean by that, in helping themselves, it comes down to investing in themselves and a product, a brand, an idea it represents. This is what entrepreneurship is, folks. And I'm talking about entrepreneurship that is looking for the long-term, generational wealth. Whereas most people work for a company and help build up that company, they may sometimes get some stock, some ownership, but really when the business becomes wildly successful and let's say it gets bought out for millions or even billions of dollars, more times than not, if you don't have any stock or ownership in it, you're going to make no money. And when it comes to the music business, I think this principle of ownership becomes much more apparent in your face. I mean, imagine seeing all of these rappers, your friends that you helped and worked with to help blow them up, made all of this money and got all this fame, while you get nothing. Seemed like that would sting and build up potential resentment or a big chip on your shoulder. Now, what Alex and Luca did, because they definitely do have those chips on their shoulder, is they used it as motivation to work harder, to refine their entrepreneurial muscles, and find a path to success. And that's what they did. You don't need to be a famous rapper to be successful. You don't need to be a professional basketball player. You can be the greatest thing of them all, an entrepreneur. Because at the end of the day, what are all of the rappers and pro sports players doing when they finish their careers? Well, a lot of them want to be entrepreneurs. Now, that is to say that being an entrepreneur is one of the hardest occupations in the world, so don't think it's not going to take a lot of work, but it's doable. But you need to believe in yourself, because just like Luca has talked about in interviews before, no one really is going to believe in you at first. Really, you're only going to have yourself to believe in. Please make sure to hit the like button, share this, subscribe, and follow me on all the socials. Big shouts out to Alex Major and Luca Brasi and all the gumbos, and big shouts out to Berner and Cookies. And big shouts out to you for watching. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this High Design QP episode. This is LMC. signing out.
You tired of losing packs? It's probably because that stimmy bullshit you're sending your buddy for triple the price got holes poked in it. These don't poke holes. These bags make it. Touchdown! These bags made it! This asshole didn't use touchdown bags, so now his pack's a day late. He was gonna spend his Saturday taking his kids to the park and maybe a movie. Now, these little bastards are gonna be eating top ramen and watching YouTube. Touchdown! These bags make it! You spent top dollar on the best exotic indoors in the world, but the mailman intercepted. Should've got a touchdown bag. Touchdown! These bags make it! I just got a call from a dear friend on the East Coast. Touchdown! My bags made it. Looks like Dickhead can't afford the new Yeezys because his shit bags didn't touch down in North Florida. Should've got a touchdown bag. These bags make it. Touchdown! Trying to sell your dep as ends? Put a wig on that pig with a touchdown bag. These bags make it. These bags made it. You cash out the plug and he just sent you an empty box. Next time, make him put it in a touchdown bag. Cause these bags make it. No excuses. Touchdown!
Yes, Sirski, come on. They make it. Touchdown. And also, make sure to subscribe to the Black Market Vikings YouTube channel. The link will be down below in the description. Shouts out to all the homies over there. So, we are in the very early stages of this emerging legal industry. And with that, we have seen the development of brands. Before we enter this recreational era of the industry, the first iteration of brands began with strains. Strains, well, they were the first, and now because this plant is legal, we have moved to fully commercialized brands. With this, we've seen entrepreneurs invest in packaging. And when it comes to California, many of the trends within the industry start here. In this high design quick pack episode, we're going to cover the company and people behind Sticker Farmer. This is a company that really has had a massive impact on the California market, and most people don't know that. In 2017, there was a historic street campaign / promotion that was being run by Young LB and Ray Bama, which was the catalyst that made the Runt strain and brand so popular around the entire US. Now, who do you think supplied those bags for this prolific street campaign? Well, we'll get into the details later on in this video. But while the quality and flavor profiles of a new strain is extremely important, it can't be denied that packaging is also another crucial component to the modern weed markets around the world. The packaging in many ways gives identity to a strain and the people behind it, who grew it, and the whole team that sold it. Anyways, please make sure to hit the like button, share this, comment, and subscribe, because we definitely need y'all to motherfucking subscribe. How do I have 10% of the viewers are subscribed? Anyways, we're on the road to 50K. This is LMC. This is another QP. Let's run it. Okay, so the story first begins way back in 1996, where the founder, Ben Pachetti, first created a flower brand. Ben has always been a hustler and has always been creative, and growing up in the Bay Area, well, all three things would collide. From 1996 to around the year 2000, he and his crew of his friends would be hustling, selling weed shirts, and then they moved into sweatshirts. And when Ben was 20 though, right, he would co-found a company called Chubby Greens. Now, Chubby Greens was based around nightlife, promotions, art, and music. Ben would continue to work on his own businesses while also working for other independent graphic designing shops. During this time, he would learn about the sign business and how printing machines and the overall manufacturing process worked. During this time, Ben would meet his wife, Leslie Van Dalsum, who was also very artistic and motivated herself. And this would be another key building block in everything that led to Sticker Farmer. but it would take a number of years before they would form Sticker Farmer. The true precursor to Sticker Farmer was when in 2008, with a loan from his mom for $14,000, who also helped him get a $50,000 business loan from the bank, would buy 3 basic machines which were capable of doing signs, graphics, banners, and more. From 2008 until 2015, Ben would open and run his own print shop called Big League Printing. Ben and his family would live in the same warehouse where he ran his print shop. He would start Big League Printing with an artist named Miguel Lopez, where they would create shirts, banners, signs for all types of companies, from small businesses to tech startups like Tesla. During this time, Ben would be working 16-hour workdays. Being from the Bay, he was a huge fan of the Raiders and Warriors. He would wake up at 4 a.m. to go sell shirts and hustle heads outside before some of the football games. He would also sell stencil shirts with designs. For example, they did designs like, Mac J stencil. But during this time, Ben would stack up some money and would actually run into legal trouble with one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world for using a trademarked phrase on one of his shirts. He also had his online website shut down by the lawyers representing one of the main stars on the Golden State Warriors team. So things kind of started to add up. While this time was very stressful, he managed to come out decently unscathed, but wasn't exactly sure if he wanted to keep selling shirts and hustle heads. Still, he would continue. One day, a person who is kind of like the handler of the Golden State Warriors team reached out to Ben and asked if he could make 600 hustlehead cutouts of Draymond Green, who had been suspended for Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Ben was hyped on this, and it gave him hope and motivation, and maybe he was on the right path with this business. Ben would drive to the Warriors Stadium on game day in an extremely good mood and excited to finally start working with the Golden State Warriors. When he got to the stadium, this guy walked up and grabbed the 600 hustle heads, said some words to him, and then walked back into the stadium. Ben would wait for to come back to pay him, but instead he got a phone call from him saying that there was a mistake made and that the Warriors only wanted 6 hustle heads instead of 600. Well, I'm pretty sure he didn't receive any payment for them either. Now, imagine this. Ben driving on the way home, obviously angry, sad, you could say even demoralized. And then later that day, his favorite basketball team would lose the finals, blowing a 3-1 lead in the series, which had literally never been done before, ever in NBA history. And then the next day, Ben would shut down his printing company and start the Sticker Farmer brand. To the entrepreneurs out there listening, don't let major setbacks discourage you. Failure is about learning, and what you do after you fail is what matters. And Ben right away adapted and pivoted, which is a reoccurring theme throughout this entire story. At age 37, with $25,000 he had saved, he, alongside his wife, would begin to build the Sticker Farmer company. Given that Ben already had the network of people, they would immediately start supplying and designing packaging and other branded marketing materials to cannabis brands in the Bay Area. For example, they started out doing designs for Lemon Tree and Golden State Banana. During 2017, Ben would change the game. In a High Times interview, he said, quote, "I cut a sticker and put it on a fucking 14 by 16 Mylar bag," he said. "I made a pound bag with a sticker on it. I came up with that. It changed the game," end quote. Nowadays, this Mylar bag with a sticker is the most prominent type of packaging around the country. But back in 2017, it was still a very new thing. And as fate had it, the other major ingredient to this style of packaging coming to be so dominant throughout the industry would be the creation of the Runts brand. Now check out this clip from the First Smoke of the Day podcast where co-founder Ray Bama explains the day they named the Runts strain and created the brand. And how does this have to do with the Sticker Farmer?
And so you knew the strain was already a keeper. You were like, "Yo, this is
it was
fire."
purple as fuck and it smelled like straight
Sweet.
Skittles. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it was the one. Like, But I was hella excited.
And you were like, we just got to brand this up.
She's like, should we call it Purple Skittles? Should we call it Purple Skittles? And I'm like, hell no, right? And he gives me the pack right when I open it.
Good move.
We open the pack right away, so it's a 15-minute drive, bro. By the time, before we exited, we were like, Runs with a Z.
Really?
Yeah, by the time we exited, yeah. So we call Sticker Farmer, shout out Sticker Farmer. Oh, you guys need to get Sticker Farmer on here. He's a,
Yo, we gonna go stop by after this or what? You gonna let me ride in the Maybach?
Yeah,
What's going on?
So we call Sticker Farmer, we get a logo.
So as you can see, the literal origin story of Ray Bama and Young LB creating the Runts brand involves Sticker Farmer. Later on that year and into 2018, Runts would transition over from jars to these Mylar bags with stickers supplied by the Sticker Farmer. As Runts would grow in popularity, so would the Mylar with a sticker cutout style too, with other cannabis brands. Now, if you haven't seen the high design episode I did on Runts, I highly recommend you go check that out. I talk about how in 2017 through 2018, Young LB and Ray Bama ran a street campaign around the country promoting the Runts brand and strain. At the first stop of this campaign, Young LB would give Ben a call and say that he needed Runts bags ASAP. He needed to be sent out to him immediately. And Ben and his team were the perfect match for this because they were willing to work the entire night in order to have the packaging ready to be sent out to whatever state Young LB was in at the time. From then on, Sticker Farmer would be mailing the Runts packaging every 3 to 5 days. Wherever Young LB and Ray Bama went next, they would have a Sticker Farmer pack filled with Runts packaging arriving at the same time they would. The packaging gave the Runts strain brand identity. It's crazy to think if Runts didn't have Sticker Farmers supplying them constantly every 3 to 5 days, sending them packs to a new state every time, that the Runts brand may not have gotten the traction it did during this whole street campaign they ran. So given the rise of Runts and Runts using the sticker cutout and Mylar bags, the duo of Sticker Farmer and Runts brought this style of Mylar bags to the mainstream, and to this day are utilized by people in their cannabis brands all around the world. Now, in 2018, the Sticker Farmer company would start to really take off, and later in the year, they would open a new location in Mendocino, and throughout the next couple of years would open 5 different Sticker Farmer locations all around California. Since the start of Sticker Farmer back in 2017, the company has worked with around 5,000 different cannabis brands, which when you think about it, that's fucking insane. It's undeniable that Sticker Farmer has really been a major cornerstone in the creation and branding of cannabis brands in California and beyond. Cannabis packaging in general is so important. It showcases the brand and its name, and it gives the cannabis inside that packaging something to be associated with. Now, the Sticker Farmer company today does around $5 million in sales, and they've sustained that for a number of reasons. Some of those being overall just great service to their customers, but great social media marketing, talented artists and graphic designers, Ben's wife Leslie installing and really running most of the company's logistics, and also the company has been great about adapting and evolving. In November of 2021, Ben's right-hand man, Jack Friedman, convinced Ben to start developing NFT projects. They started to experiment and develop different projects, and then one day, Jack showed Ben a sketch of these birds. This would be the beginning of their main NFT project called Feathered Underdog Club. And if you read the description they have on their NFT site, it reads, quote, "A dope art collection of feathered underdogs that grants access to members-only community of creatives, entrepreneurs, and all-around hustlers. Utilities include random merchandise drops, exclusive NFTs access, and more. Each drop of NFT will increasingly get more and more dope, so mint one and join the familia." So obviously when it comes to NFTs, you always want to see utility, and it looks like that's there. You know, it seems like they have a pretty vibrant community that really, cares about what's going on.
Right now, they're in there getting jobs out of our Discord, selling art. Now you can go in my art contest, surf through the art contest, pick your own fucking artist and work directly with them and know that they're a trusted, legit dude. It's like I'm turning my company inside out and I'm gonna make fucking the access for people fucking worldwide like fucking right there at their fingertips. Start a project today, have it going tomorrow, have it fully in motion next week.
And so what's also been really interesting too is Sticker Farmer is definitely one of the first cannabis companies or cannabis related companies to really start to dive down the NFT and actually launch these projects. They're actually, I think they've done 3 different projects just within the Feathered Underdog Club. And it's going to be interesting because it looks like they're going to be putting out a 4th series on this project, which is going to be completely free and will involve a trading card game. So I'm definitely interested to see how that turns out. Overall, when I reviewed and inspected their NFT projects, everything seems legit to me. Looks like they're building value and knowledge in different resources for their community, and definitely looks like they're trying to take the long-term approach, which is extremely important. Like I said earlier in the video, a major theme with Ben and his overall team at Sticker Farmer is their ability to adapt and evolve. And in a turbulent industry like this, you need to be looking to evolve, right? While they are still making plenty of money in other areas of their business, they're starting to develop out, a new potential adaptation. And that's what it's about. Build a team so that you can keep doing your operations, but also expand. You don't have to experiment. Now, they're obviously past the experimentation phase of this. I mean, this has been, they've been, like I said, they've really developed this all out. And overall, though, like I said, they have been adapting. You need to look to evolve. Companies that are stagnant for too long are definitely more susceptible to failing long term. Now, one of the main reasons why I wanted to do a QP episode on Sticker Farmer is when I read the High Times article I mentioned earlier, I saw that Ben and his wife Leslie literally started the company only 5 years ago and have grown that to generate $5 million in sales a year. That right there, my friends, is true entrepreneurship. I say that because in that article, it explains the timeline of Ben's story, which we just went over. And you see a story that showcases constant adaptation. It showcases perseverance. And that while times were tough, Ben didn't feel defeated and didn't just give up on his entrepreneurial endeavors, but rather kept pushing and pivoting, and then finally hit it big with the Sticker Farmer brand. Don't give up. Keep pushing. Don't be afraid to change, and don't be afraid to try new things. Anyways, this is a QP. Really appreciate y'all for listening. Big shouts out to Ben, his family, the entire Sticker Farmer team. The future is looking bright. If you liked this high design QP episode, please make sure to hit the like button, share this with your friends. That really helps out the algorithm, so definitely share it. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. We're on the road to 50K. As well, if you want to connect with me, you can join my Discord or follow me on any of the other social medias. Links are down below in the description. Anyways, this is LMC, signing out.
You tired of losing packs? It's probably because that stimmy bullshit you're sending your buddy for triple the price got holes poked in it. These don't poke holes. These bags make it. Touchdown! These bags made it! This asshole didn't use touchdown bags, so now his pack's a day late. He was gonna spend his Saturday taking his kids to the park and maybe a movie. Now, these little bastards are gonna be eating top ramen and watching YouTube. Touchdown! These bags make it! You spent top dollar on the best exotic indoors in the world, but the mailman intercepted. Should've got a touchdown bag. Touchdown! These bags make it! I just got a call from a dear friend on the East Coast. Touchdown! My bags made it. Looks like Dickhead can't afford the new Yeezys because his shit bags didn't touch down in North Florida. Should've got a touchdown bag. These bags make it. Touchdown! Trying to sell your dep as ends? Put a wig on that pig with a touchdown bag. These bags make it. These bags made it. You cash app the plug and he just sent you an empty box. Next time, make him put it in a touchdown bag, because these bags make it. No excuses. Touchdown!
Tenko has always been a mysterious brand to me. Over the last few years, I've heard murmurs, little bits and pieces about them and their brand and the cultivar brands they have created in that of the blue Zushi and pink Zushi. But like I said, Still, very mysterious brand. And I remember hearing back in 2021, 2022 about them and the wave that they had been making in California, more specifically LA. I remember I was on the phone with my buddy Josh, who's from New York, in the summer of 2022, and he was telling me that I needed to cover Tenco, and that they were starting to really pop off over in New York. Now, Josh was a frequent attendee of the Astor Club, where he ended up getting to learn more about Tenco and meeting some of the founders. And, he gave me little bits and pieces on the company, on the brand. And eventually he mentioned to me that the Tenco were actually the only people from the UK that were popping off in America. And at the time, with the initial launch of the Blue Zushi. And since that conversation, I've been slowly but surely learning more and more about Tenco. And I was especially interested in them, given that they were originally from London. And really, well, I ain't ever heard of anyone from England, let alone London, that was popping off in the States like that in Cali. Plus the fact that half my family's from the UK, and I know I got a lot of viewers that are in the UK, so I was definitely super motivated to figure out the story, kind of put the pieces together a little bit. And I really trust Josh in his info/opinion on up-and-coming brands, even though he's from New York and I'm from the West Coast. But that really being because he came up under the Astor Club, and the folks that don't know about the owners of Astor Club, Matt and Ben, well, those dudes seriously only mess with the top brands and top quality in the entire country/world. And by the way, the Astor Club video will be dropping sometime next month, so keep your eyes open for that. But yeah, like I said, since late 2021, early 2022, the Tenco had been seriously on my radar, and I was trying to learn more. Now, in the beginning of 2023, I was able to meet some of the main founders while I was out in New York at the Astor Club. I got to learn more and more about the brand, but I didn't fully get, all the different pieces. But in this High Design QP episode, we are going to examine the rise of Tenco and the people behind the brand while examining the strategies and tools the founders of Tenco used to truly pop off this brand on an international and national stage in this new emerging industry. Big ups to all my brothers and sisters over in the UK holding it down, and shout out to the folks at Tenco, because I gotta say, it seems like we are heading into the Tenco era. Anyways, make sure to follow me on all social medias, links down below in the description, and make sure to strap in and enjoy the ride. This is the High Design of Tenco. Now, founders Stax and Jerry would come together and start the process of building one of the most hyped and sought after brands today in that of Tenco, and what we call sub-brands in that of the blue and pink Zushi flavor/brands. Now, when I said in the opening that the Tenco was a brand founded by folks from the United Kingdom, well, that's only partially true, or at least that's the beginning of the story. Really, it's more of a fusion of the UK and the US, given that one of the founders, Stax, is from London, and the other founder, Jerry, seems to be from the US. But overall, what we can see is that the Tenco and its branding, flavors, and overall company is really, like I said, a fusion of Europe and America. Now, before we jump into the current day successes of the Tenco, we need to go back and explore the upbringing of Tenco founder Stax and his journey with cultivation and extraction in London as a kid. So Stax grew up in London as a kid, and as the older brother, and you're not really growing up with a father really, the streets raised him and his siblings. Since Stax was about 15 or 16, he had an obsession with the plant. Growing up in London, Stax began growing and learning from older friends of his that cultivated. As a 16-year-old, he would travel to Amsterdam in a 5-hour drive from London to explore the coffee shops and the Dutch flavors and seeds available at these shops. He would have his older friends go in and purchase the seeds for him, until finally, when he turned 18, he was able to go in and purchase the seeds himself. Now listen to this interview that Stax did with the First Smoke of the Day podcast, where he talks about his mentor Steve and the first time he entered into his first High Times Cup when he was around 25 years old.
That was his entryway. Now, looking into the Skittles market,
exactly.
Another strain,
Yeah.
Amazing to smoke, not a great looker.
Yeah, you go for the heart sometimes,
Yeah. So you're basically all this at the right time, at the right place, and you're crushing fire extracts of sour and all the red diesels.
Just ahead of the curve, really.
And so you start crushing out these cups.
So a few cups started coming around, and everyone was just like, bro, this is what you gotta do. You gotta enter these cups. Like, okay, cool, let's enter the cups.
Got good people around you, man.
Who you entering the cups with? Talk about your partners and stuff, and a little bit of that, like a little bit of the journey of how that.
The first cup that I entered, was with a guy called older guy that I used to work with back home. His name was Steve. And he
Shout
was,
out to Steve, man.
Shout out
We
Steve.
hope you hear this shit.
And
man.
he was, I was
You're
like,
a legend.
I was probably 25 at the time, and he was like 52, older man, and he really knew the plant. And being in London at the time, like that guy was crucial.
That's
to
huge
me.
to have a mentor that much older
Yeah,
than you.
he was a great key into
That
into the
grows.
build up.
Oh.
So he used to he would call me up and say, "Yo, what seed shall I pot?" And I'll tell him, and he would pot them and grow them. But he had like 50 lights or 40 lights.
Fuck yeah.
But that was still crushing. So
Hell yeah.
and he was like my grower, basically. He was my grower. So everything that he would bring down, he would give to me, and I'd process it into. I remember the first one was in London, I think, the first competition, called the Dope Fiend Cup, I think it was called.
Holy hell.
And we came first. We came first place on that
grimy
one.
out there, man.
Yeah, Jesus.
So you took that
Crazy
one home.
name. So we took that one home, and that
With
was
Steve, and that was with Steve,
Shout out
OG Steve.
Sour
OG
Steve.
yeah, my guy.
OG Sour Steve.
And then it went to
The Dope Fiend Cup.
Yeah.
You win a big needle. Yeah, that'd be fucking crazy.
So where was I?
In London, you're with OG Steve.
so
you guys
yeah,
took home the cup. He's your grower.
And then I'm still there. I'm still doing my thing. And High Times. I think it was 2013. High Times award came up. It was based in Amsterdam, and I got there was a guy that messaged me wanting to collab. This was like probably my first big competition that I entered.
This is the OG Cannabis Cup. Yeah.
So I remember and they were growers. They had projects going on all over the place. So they would come and bring me the material, and I did like a few test runs for them. They were going crazy, and they were like, "We want to enter the competition with you." So we did, and we didn't place, but I felt that was my whole learning curve. That was the experience that I needed to break through. I knew where I went wrong.
So, growing up, Stax really was first about extraction. A number of years ago, Stax would form the Tenco company himself, right? But this would be called the Tenco Extraction Company. Now, Stax would travel to Amsterdam and travel over to Spain, and after attending his first Cannabis. And in 2016, Stax would travel to LA and other states in the US to attend different competitions to enter his rosin, PHO, etc. And then eventually, later that year, well, Stax would move to LA. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. See, Stax would link up with different growers and start to establish the Tenco company in LA. And start to meet with different growers and start to build his overall team and build out his whole entire infrastructure. Now, I don't know when exactly Jerry, the other co-founder, and Stax would link up exactly, and when or how Jerry first would get involved with the Tenco, but if we do a little investigating into Jerry, well, it gets super interesting. And like I said, a little investigating because I've never met dude. I've only met Stax and his brother briefly. And for the most part, this is going to start to kind of get into more of an analysis and a little investigation. So if we look into who Jerry is, well, he's a pretty interesting character. Just in my little investigation, it seems like the first post he makes on his Jerry account, it's a picture of him and the former founder of World Star Hip Hop, Q, who's a legendary figure who unfortunately passed away, I think, back in 2017. But that points to potentially that Jerry kind of came up working for or learned from Q, the founder of World Star Hip Hop, which is for folks that aren't aware, World Star Hip Hop is a very, very successful platform. Would make a lot of sense, where potentially Jerry and Stax would link up, and Stax has all of his knowledge of the flavors. He's also creative himself, but also the cultivation side of things. And Jerry kind of brings in the marketing and the having a lot of connections in LA and America in general. And so that's like I was saying, is there's this fusion between the UK and America with this partnership with Jerry and Stax. And it also makes a lot of sense, marketing and establishing a brand in the United States in the modern era. And Stax kind of brings on, this creativity as well as this understanding of bringing top quality flavors and an overall top quality experience. And I think together, along with their team, they have been able to really stick out from the pack in some major ways. Now, the big year for the Tenko really is when they kind of launched Zushi, right? The Blue Zushi, which was in 2021. And according to an article done by Jimmy Devine, it won top honors in the inaugural ZA Olympics. And during that year, this is where we start to see the Tenko and the Zushi start to really come into the legitimate market in LA. So in an interview done by Jimmy Devine with Stax explains that there was a licensing deal with a group that was in LA that allowed them to vertically integrate and create a whole shop and also have enough space for cultivation. And so that's what Stax would end up doing. And so it showcases, right, that he built up the brand, him and Jerry built up the Tenko brand, built up enough equity there in the streets in a number of other ways. And that allowed them to get a licensing deal to establish a legitimate vertically integrated business in LA. Now, what's also interesting in this interview that Jimmy Devine does with Stax is Stax talks about how, obviously how they opened up the shop and the vertical integration, but also talks about how his overall approach with the marketing and the strategy of the Zushi, which is, like I said, a sub-brand of Tenko. And I love the way that they set this up. See, Zushi is like, they roll Zushi out a little bit similar to Runts, but they make some very key changes that I think is very important. See, with Runts, if you haven't seen the documentary I've done on them, I highly recommend you go watch that. This will make a lot more sense to you. But they kind of keep it much more controlled. Whereas Runts, there's a bunch of different types of Runts, and there was a bunch of different other kind of sub-brands of Runts that potentially diluted the brand a little bit to a certain degree. Now with Zushi, right, what the approach that Stax and Jerry have taken is that they're really pushing this as, and I quote, they're trying to use the same tactical program as Supreme, and Supreme, the streetwear for folks that aren't aware. So Supreme is obviously a very, very famous brand, and their whole strategy was all about limiting supply, right? Kind of taking a hype beast style approach to rolling out a brand, and that's really all about just keeping super high quality stuff, very limited supply. In this interview with Jimmy Devine, Stax says, quote, "I'm trying to keep it as limited as possible. I'm not really trying to blow up the big places with Zushi. I already have all that in my other grow rooms. And as much as I want to scale up, we don't want to do it that way." Now, Jimmy would further go on to write, Stax further argued that scaling Zushi could mess up the wave it's already on, and that's the last thing he wants to do, but it's what would happen if he was to go too big with it denting its mystique, right? They really have played the whole mystery element to their branding and their whole approach and the perception that the public has of them really, really well. You gotta give it up to them. And so Zushi, they've slowly been scaling it up. They didn't want to scale it too quickly, so what they've done is they've done these kind of sub-brands. So they have the Blue Zushi and they have the Pink Zushi. The first initial kind of sub-brand or strain really was the Blue Zushi, right? And that started to pop off in 2021. And then, in 2022, 2023, they've started to roll out the Pink Zushi. And they've done that alongside with, signing Coil Ray, a famous rapper who identifies a lot with like anime culture. And, that's the whole branding of Zushi, right? Is it's got the kind of anime style to it, which is super dope. I gotta say, the design process, and I've talked to Stax about this, the little time I got to talk with him, he mentioned to me that he's really close with his kind of head designer, his creative director, and they together have really made some amazing packaging, and overall just the brand of the Zushi has been really, really dope. The aesthetics, and it's all super on point. Everything is super duper on point. And I think that's a combination of obviously Stax and then also mixed with Jerry and his experience in the streetwear / overall digital space in America. Now, to go back to this article with Jimmy Devine and this interview with Stax, I want to highlight this. So Stax says, quote, "I try to limit the product to my clients, and he's come to grow wary of those big orders. He's more concerned with building anticipation than any one big sale," he says, and quote, "and just constantly build that narrative. There's not that many, I just kind of keep it limited and never really give anyone too many numbers. So that's kind of what sustained us, because no one has the control of the information really apart from us." To go on and further quote Jimmy and the interview he did, he said, quote, "But it worked. And less than a year since the first Zushi drop at Cookies Melrose, the snowball is rolling down the mountain fast." Stax noted that the last year everything went crazy. He explained they'd already had the Zushi a few years before everything went off. He argues that the flower is getting better and the redesign were big factors. Quote, What really happened was obviously from getting her dialed in. Quality was getting better, Stack said, and quote, I think at that time I joined up with my designer, Jerry, and we kind of decided to rebrand Zushi. And that's when we introduced these two characters. It was just kind of organic. And the new look certainly helped keep things fresh, Jimmy writes, and quote, it kind of just gave us this not so childish Pokemon approach where you have to catch them all and it's got that kind of vibe to it, Stack said. Now, that makes more sense. So it looks like Jerry linked up with Stacks. And so overall, though, like I said, I think that their slow rollout has been really smart. Their controlled rollout has been really smart. And their rebrand has been really smart. And they've also focused on specific cities, the big cities that really matter and that are like built for, you know, sustaining hype brands like a Supreme. Supreme is a, you know, obviously a very, very famous clothing brand / you know, just overall accessories brand that, you know, was born in New York City. And there's really only two major cities where streetwear hype beast brands have really prospered and like kind of come out of, and that's LA and New York. And they've been really smart about establishing themselves and making a really strong presence in both of those two cities. LA, they've obviously already established themselves, and now they've obviously moved on to New York, and they've kind of teamed up with key players in New York, like the folks over at the Astor Club. Their overall approach has been really smart. They haven't, you know, jumped the gun, right? They've been slow about their rollout, and they've been aware that, you know, they have to limit the supply. Now, other brands are aware of this as well. Like I know people like Doja Pack, like they don't want to have mass scale. They want to always be known as, you know, limited, boutique, super sought after, and they need to control the supply is a huge component of it. They don't want it to get out of hand. What do I mean by getting out of hand? Well, typically what happens with any sort of flavor or any sort of brand is if there's too much volume of it, it will always deteriorate the brand over time. This happens in the streets with different strains, and this happens with streetwear brands, right? It's all about exclusivity. And if there's too much volume, if you haven't seen the video I've done on the Bubba, there's other examples as well, but it's all about limiting the supply, right? So I think it's very brilliant of Jerry and Stacks to have controlled this rollout, rebranded it, and I think that they're starting to pretty much amount a new wave, a massive wave. And like I said, I think we're going into the Tenko era. Now we'll have to see the next couple years how this all, you know, turns out. But in my opinion, they've been making nothing but smart moves. And they've been, like I said, they haven't wanted to grow too fast. Like I said, I gotta highlight that for sure. That's a huge component to this overall approach that these two have really made sure to hammer on home. So I think it's been really interesting. And like I said, I think the fusion of Stacks and Jerry has been a really, really good partnership. I think they both have taught each other different things about kind of where their own strengths lie. And they've teamed up and really have created, like I said, this wave that is not looking to subside anytime soon. Now, I don't know if they watched, I mean, I know Stacks has watched some of my videos. I don't know if he had watched the Runts video that I, you know, had done. I'm pretty sure he probably did. But he has a chance to do what Runts didn't really do well. Now, I explained in that Runts documentary how there was a bunch of different types of runts and there was different people that represented each type of runts, right? So I talked about how, you know, Dollars Up Nero, you know, was Mr. White Runts. I talked about how, you know, there's a bunch of different rappers that represented a different type of runts. And I thought that the potential there was massive and really smart. But I think that it just got too diluted, and no offense to Runts, by the way, big shouts out to everyone at Runts. Those guys are like legends, you know. But that was coming from a point of view of where like it was a whole group of friends, right? People, they're all different rappers from the Bay Area. But what I think and this is just a prediction of mine, just with them doing kind of, you know, and I might be wrong here, but just with them signing Coi Leray to the pink Zushi brand, they have the chance potentially to go out and find a number of other famous individuals or famous rappers or whatever that may be, and assign them and kind of sign them on to different iterations of the Zushi. You know, maybe there's 4 or 5 different iterations of the Zushi, and they all are able to market to specific subset groups of society. Now, that's just a prediction of mine. Don't take it as like that's what they're doing. I have no idea. I haven't talked to Stacks or really anybody from their camp in, you know, months. And this video, I just wanted to do this analysis / kind of quick overview of telling their story a little bit, because I think that we are seriously heading into the Tenko era. And I think there's a lot to be learned from what they're doing right now and how they're moving. So any aspiring entrepreneur in this new emerging industry, I highly recommend. It's important to study people that are doing it right. And I would say Tenco and all the folks over there are doing it right. We'll definitely do a follow-up video on this, but I want to do just a little quick pack, a little high design quick pack for you guys to kind of break down some of the strategy and other things that I've seen. And let me know too down below in the comments. Do you guys have any analysis that I missed, that anything that you've noticed about them that they've been doing really well? I would love to hear down below in the comments. I want to say big shouts out to everyone over at the Tenco. They've been starting to really ramp it up. Like I said, I tip of the hat. And big shouts out to, I love to see anyone from the UK doing something that no one else from the UK is doing. And that's popping off in the United States. So it's been dope to see. Anyways, guys, I really appreciate you. I hope you guys enjoyed this little QP episode of High Design. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe. Drop a comment. Follow me on all the social medias. Anyways, this is LMC signing out. Yay. The Gas House brand has been making waves in the industry for years now. But what was their path and their design to that success? Welcome to this quick pack episode of High Design, where we'll be briefly telling the story of the Gas House brand and its founders, Felix Murray and Kingston. But more so, we'll be analyzing the business moves and strategies that the Gas House brand has utilized in their massive rise to success. Whether it's a feature high design episode, a high design history episode, or a high design quick pack episode, the High Design franchise is always striving to help educate up and coming entrepreneurs via storytelling and brand analysis. I hope High Design inspires anyone watching to follow your dreams, to work hard, and to be smart while never giving up. This is LMC. Please make sure to hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and follow us on all the socials, links down below. Welcome to this High Design Quick Pack. Now, if you haven't noticed, there are unfortunately very few Black-owned cannabis businesses in the legal cannabis industry. While there are starting to be more and more, I think it's important to note that the Gas House Cannabis brand, in its leadership of Felix and Kingston, represents one of the very first Black-owned recreational cannabis brands that have really popped off in the legal cannabis industry. But when and where did the partnership between Kingston and Felix begin? Well, that was 2014 in Atlanta. Felix, well, he was a nightclub owner. He was also involved in entertainment.
Like, a lot of people know you for, your Gas House and you being in the cannabis industry, but you was also very influential with the music and nightlife scene here in Atlanta. I mean, for years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm correct, you started with Dreams, correct?
Yeah.
Dreams nightclub.
Dreams, yeah. Right,
so for those who don't know,
he's the
owner.
Hand clap for Dreams, man. I had a bunch of good nights in Dreams, man.
Dreams nightclub.
Hand
If you've ever been to Dreams nightclub in Atlanta, this is the owner right here, Felix Murray. Let me tell you something, Felix. What made you want to? Now, first, let me say this. Okay. First, I want to say, shout to you because one, every time I DJ'd there, all my checks were good and on time.
Yeah.
Claps for that.
Right.
Two, I never had any issues getting in. I never had any issues getting my drinks. No. You know what I'm saying? The only issues I had is when DJ Teflon trying to smoke me out before my set, but that's when I had baby lungs. I'm with him now, so I can hang with him now. But that was before, I got into the cannabis business real heavy. But I just want to say I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Because in Atlanta, man, DJs and the DJ booths and getting paid on time and even getting your name on a flyer is a heavy thing around here. So I can honestly say that you've done that. You know what I'm saying? And I've never had any issues. I never heard anything bad or ill will on your name in this city as far as the entertainment club nightlife. So I just want to give you your props for that.
Thank you, man.
Because I don't know if anybody else
nightlife is tough, man.
That nightlife ain't easy.
He would meet Kingston, who at the time was growing cannabis in homes outside of Atlanta. In the cannabis industry, we see different variations of partnerships, but a common variation we see is a master grower and a brand architect, like we saw with Burner and Jigga in that of the Cookies Cannabis brand. By the way, if you haven't watched the High Design episode on Burner and the Cookies Cannabis empire, I highly recommend you go watch that. But anyways, The duo of Felix and Kingston initially started in the illegal cannabis market of Georgia. The Gas House brand was formed by the two in Atlanta in 2014. The Gas House brand name comes from Kingston's strain that he had created. So they laid the foundations in Atlanta, and in 2015, they knew that they needed to move to the West Coast, where all of the medical and newly opening recreational cannabis markets were. In November of 2014, Oregon legalized recreational cannabis, and that's where Felix and Kingston would attain their first license and officially start Gas House Farms. Kingston would adapt to growing in greenhouses in Oregon, and the Gas House brand would start selling to medical and recreational customers.
We knew what Gas House was and was going to be. I had to convince Kingston to, hey bro, you gotta come to Oregon. We gotta go. We gotta prove ourselves. We gotta do this. Oregon get ready to go recreational, man.
Right.
And so what we did was we started branding, you know, because we clothe and merchandise too. That's what we do. We move that, you know, that's our thing too. So we started branding, and me being in the nightclub business, you know, I know everybody, so you know, hey, let's start here at the home team.
And relationships,
and we started branding in the city, and we started creating it, and people started seeing this word Gas House, and it was kind of like it looked cool. Don't know what that is, but damn, it's dope. People wearing it.
Right.
Like that's like everybody got it on. They pull up, security got it on at the club. You know, over here, or you in the strip club, somebody got it on.
Dope market.
They seeing it, you know what I mean? Like, man, what the fuck is this? But you know, people, you know, you want to belong to things. You can see it's a movement.
From 2015 to 2017, Kingston, Felix, and their team would build up momentum and brand recognition by winning some awards in the state for their product and having consistent, high-quality products. Now, at the end of 2017, they would make an extremely smart and very important move. They moved their headquarters to Southern California. In a Forbes interview from 2021, Felix says, quote, "We recognized California had 40 million people and Oregon had 4 or 5 million people. And so we were just like, hey, it's a whole country's economy in one state. So let's attack this state and let's go at this state really hard." And that's what they did, end quote. Now, I really need to make it clear to y'all how important of a move this was. See, I'm personally from Seattle, Washington. I worked in the rec industry doing all different types of jobs, but I mainly helped cannabis companies build brands, and I ran marketing and sales. And over the course of a few years, I realized the pitfalls of small markets like Washington State. I now always tell companies nowadays, if you want to really build a brand, you want to really build brand equity, you need to move to one of the big markets and launch your brand there, especially if you have national aspirations. Why do musicians from small towns move to places like LA or New York? Well, to build their career and their personal brand. Well, one of the reasons why, they move to these, massive cities, well, there's a lot of record labels there. But the main reason is they're going there to be able to gain more fans, more opportunity. Same goes for building brands in the cannabis industry. Now, the big difference when it comes to cannabis is you need to have capital to legally set up shop, and that can be really tough. And there are ways around that, but that's for another video. Now, luckily, Gas House had moved to California in 2018 when the legal rec market had just opened up, and it wasn't necessarily as hard as it would be today to establish a brand presence. Now, California's cannabis contest circuit is one of a kind, and Gas House took advantage of that circuit. Kingston and Felix entered competitions, taking first place finishes at both 2018 High Times NorCal Cannabis Cup, as well as the 2019 Chalice Cup. Now, they leveraged this notoriety into commanding top shelf prices at exclusive dispensaries all around California, including stores like Cookies. Demand for Gas House cannabis products and concentrates continued to grow, and the company's product command top shelf prices. And now they're in multiple states around the country, including a lot of the cookie stores that are now in all over the country. Now, because of federal prohibition on cannabis, You can't, have a national brand. It's all split up, right? And so companies like Cookies and a company like Gas House, they do licensing deals. And Gas House has agreements with cultivators in 4 different states to produce cannabis featuring Kingston's Gas House genetics. Gas House's signature strain, Pluto, has started to really become popular. We see rappers starting to name drop the Pluto strain.
Hey, Batman. For real. You smoke? Yeah. Okay, cool. What's your favorite strain? I saw someone ask that. I like Pluto. Pluto? Yeah. That's sativa, indica, hybrid? 3 plus, I'm digging. Oh, shit. 1 blunt lasts like 2 weeks.
That's on you, though. Right around in Atlanta smoking Pluto in a two-door, but I'm solo.
If you watched my High Design episodes on the Cookies brand or the Runts brand, 2 different videos, by the way, you can check it out in the High Design playlist. The strategies of leveraging music to advertise and hype strains up can be very effective. Now, some other strategies that Gas House has implemented to grow brand awareness in states and markets where cannabis is not recreationally legal include throwing pop-up events all over the country, even if it's, the cannabis has not been legalized there. Those pop-ups can allow for them to, touch down with a whole new community, potentially even get some product in their hands, and, have their roots in that area and starting to build brand awareness. Now, another strategy that they've been leveraging is the legality of Delta-8 THC and other hemp products or other hemp-derived cannabis compounds, which is actually legal, which made it legal after the 2018 Farm Bill passed, which made pretty much every natural cannabis compound in the cannabis plant besides Delta-9 THC legal. If you want more information on that, I've done countless videos on it, but it's allowed for them to get their brand into new markets and develop new customers and fans. It also allows them to sell their products online. They can sell CBD flower, Delta-8 flower in 32 states, other, products that, as long as it's not Delta-9, they can have people buy it online and they can send it. And so that builds data over time. So it's effective, right? It allows them to get their brand into new markets and develop new customers and fans. Felix and Kingston conservatively value their Gas House portfolio, the Gas House brand, at around $60 million. Now that's according to that 2021 Forbes article that I referenced earlier. Something that's really dope about Felix and Kingston is they've strived to mentor and help up-and-coming Black cannabis entrepreneurs, help them succeed in this cannabis industry. And I love to see it.
Coming into this industry, mentorship is a huge part of it. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in cannabis, a lot of people trying to break into the industry, people that were operating in the legacy market, transitioning into the regulated market. Have you had any mentors along the way, or do you mentor anyone?
I mentor quite a few guys. I really didn't have any mentors in the cannabis space, but I do mentor quite a few young men. Yes, I do.
And would that be, geared towards cultivation or distribution? What is really your area?
Well, both. I'm very well-rounded in the cannabis space, when it comes to cultivation, distribution, brand creation, or what have you. And so guys that I mentor, they come from all fields. I have some young guys that I mentor in the cultivation space, as well as branding. I have guys that are, in the delivery business and stuff or what have you, since startup cost is not as great, doing a delivery as it is doing a storefront. And so, I have quite a list of guys that I, continue to help every day. And I always will be like that. That's just kind of what I do anyway. So, yeah.
Legacy companies and craft companies need to help each other as much as they can because big business has truly entered the cannabis market. But Gas House is doing what it needs to do to survive and thrive. And that's building an authentic brand that people love. The more brand equity a cannabis company can build, then the more leverage they will have in growing their business. And like I always say in all of the countless videos I've done in the past, the small business in the cannabis industry only has around 3 avenues where they will have leverage over $1 billion company. And that's building brand, genetics, proprietary technology, and really, yeah, that's about it. There's some other things, smaller things, but for the most part, those are the 3 big things that a $1 billion company can't necessarily just, build itself. Anyways, in conclusion, Felix and Kingston built an amazing team. They adapted to new markets and they continue to grow their brand in unique and strategic ways throughout the country. As time goes on, the cannabis industry is going to get harder and harder to succeed in. You need to be smart, you need to work hard, and you need to never give up. Good luck. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this quick pack high design episode. Please make sure to hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe if you're not already, and follow us on all the socials. Links down below. Shout out to Felix, Kingston, and the whole Gas House family. Anyways, this is LMC, signing out.